What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to RJF Media. I'm Rob. And what a wild week this past week has been in the Jets world. As we all know, there's a couple things that happen. Probably one of the biggest things is the whole Mecole Hardman story. With that whole situation going on, Ryan Clark's podcast and talking about the Jets and that tenure and being traded and everything that kind of went into that. The combine also started this week on Thursday. Today, I think, is wide receivers and quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken. So I kind of want to just start off with the whole Mecole Hardman story. As I said before, he went on Ryan Clark's podcast this past week and, was asked a question about, his time with the New York Jets and being traded and everything that went into that and what he saw. And I don't know, I got a mixed bag of emotions kind of on this. One, I think the way he kind of, talked about his time with the Jets was a little petty. But on the other side, it's, well, nothing that he said was really wrong in terms of what he was talking about with the Jets, because as we saw, throughout the whole season, he talked about how the offense was a mess, how they just had no clue. Everyone was just a free-for-all. Everyone was just kind of able to do what they wanted to, helmets on the floor, and just not having a standard. He did speak highly of the defense, though. He said on the defense, it's different. There are standards. But these are things that we saw throughout the whole season, right? We all said, this offense doesn't offer anything. There's no standards. This coaching staff just has no accountability. There's nothing. That's why this offense this whole year was just one of the worst I've ever seen. Probably most of us have ever seen. But the thing that really caught my attention was talking about the whole trade scenario. He kind of listed that he got in contact with the Chiefs and ahead of time before being traded, and basically was saying like, "Hey, come get me." Maybe not the Chiefs directly, but players and whatnot. But then it came out. So before I get into that, so the Jets, Joe Douglas talked at the combine, and he was asked a question about that. Basically, saying it kind of didn't sit right with them. Now there's the rumors that there's going to be the Jets are going to ask for an investigation into this for tampering, which, if that's the case, and the other weird thing about that too is he kind of walked it back and was like, no, I never talked to them. Meanwhile, before that, he was saying that, yeah, he talked to people in the Chiefs organization. So there's probably going to be an investigation to that. I don't know how you prove, I don't know, maybe phone records or something like that, prove that there was tampering. I'm not sure how that whole process plays out, but I thought it was kind of weird to even say that in the first place. So to me, I don't know, I guess it kind of sounds like there is tampering. But the bigger news is, after that whole situation, and he's getting into online battles with Thomas Morstead and other players, Sauce, and one of the really weird things and kind of disturbing was the whole allegation that he was leaking game plans, offensive game plans to the Eagles and I believe the Chiefs. And there's a couple things with that is kind of weird because, one, the Jets beat the Eagles, so they knew the game plan. They didn't do a very good job. And two, that coupled along with what he was saying about the New York Jets, kind of gives indications that he was the one leaking the information to Deanna Rossini and Zach Rosenblatt in the Athletic article. He basically said the exact same thing that was in that article. He basically said it on Ryan Clark's podcast. And then leaking information to other teams, it sounds like they kind of go hand in hand. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know if that's true or not. Look, if it is true, he just ruined his career because there is no team besides maybe the Chiefs. I don't know. There is no team that would bring on someone like that who now has a history, if true, that now has a history of leaking information to other teams. You just effectively blackballed yourself from the NFL, and you've become public enemy number one in the NFL's eyes, well, NFL teams' eyes. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of goes on with that. He didn't come out and defend himself right away. It took a few days, and now today he came out with a statement. I believe it was today. Came out with a statement saying, I would never do that. That's not my character. But like I said, everything he was saying about the Jets and now leaking information, it sounds like he leaked information to Zach Rosenblatt and Deanna Rossini. It kind of goes hand in hand. So I'm just curious to see how that's going to play out. And if that's true, if there's going to be any compensation to the New York Jets, because now you have the other team has an unfair advantage in two big games. Oddly enough, two of the Jets' best games of the season. So I don't know. That's kind of weird to me, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that moving forward. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, as I mentioned before, it's also the week of the Combine. And Joe Douglas spoke to the media the other day, and I don't know. I don't know what this team expects us to believe, because Joe Douglas went on and was talking to reporters and said, we're in a great position as it pertains to our offensive line, because Vera Tucker can play multiple positions. He's athletic enough and he's versatile enough to play both tackle and guard, but then wouldn't tell us which position he's going to play. They said that they're still not sure where he's going to play. So effectively on the offensive line, you need to fill 4 positions. Granted, Vera Tucker's going to fill one of those, one of the tackle positions, one of the guard positions, presumably, so you need to fill 4 positions now, and this brings me to the Laken Tomlinson situation, where I was honestly surprised that they released him as early as they did, because with the limited resources the Jets have this season right now, in both money, draft picks, everything else, they have limited resource. Not like the past where they have all these draft picks and all this money. Granted, they can move some contracts around, and there's still going to be cuts. They can extend guys, rearrange contracts, all that stuff. But when you have as many holes as the Jets do, I'll say 3. You need 3 starting offensive linemen, 3 new starting offensive linemen. You need a backup quarterback. That's going to cost you money. You need 1 or 2 more receivers. That's going to cost you money. A backup running back. That's going to cost you money. You have defensive line issues that you have to get fixed. You have the whole Bryce Huff situation of, they already said they're not going to tag him, so are you going to make a push? Well, now that you let Laken Tomlinson go, now I'm not saying it was the wrong move to make. I think he should have been. I'm happy they finally just released him, even though he's going to eat about $10 million. Joe Douglas said that he had negotiations with him earlier, talked to him earlier in the week, and that restructuring just kind of wasn't a thing, which I don't see why Laken Tomlinson would have taken a pay cut or restructured, because he could make more money just getting cut, because he's going to get his $10 million. It's going to be $10 million dead cap on the Jets side, but you're going to get your $10 million, and then you're going to sign another contract, and presumably probably get, anywhere from $7 to $10 million, probably, I would assume. He is a starting caliber left guard, did not do well at the Jets, but he can kind of maybe convince teams like, the Jets, they were just a mess offensively. Look what I did in San Francisco. So he's going to make more money just getting cut. So I think that was probably, I think Joe Douglas probably would have liked to rework that contract to lower the cap hit, but not lose another position that you now have to fill. But going back to what I was saying before, so with, now that you let Laken Tomlinson go, now that's another position that you have to fill, a position in a positional group that's already so completely anemic right now. You have Tippmann, you have Vera Tucker, who's coming off a very major injury, 2 major injuries in back-to-back seasons. You have Warren Carter, who is kind of an unknown. He showed some good stuff, but is he going to keep improving on that? Is he going to take another jump? Max Mitchell, who's completely unknown, 2 years ago had a very good season, very respectable season in comparison. Just getting thrown in there and did well, held his own. But then last season, he did not look very good in a lot of contests. So now is signing Huff kind of off the table because now you have to use that money somewhere. And the Jets not having a second round pick that really hurts them. I think now this first round pick, I think it's almost gonna kind of have to be an offensive lineman because you just don't have the money to to throw around. You need the 10 million or whatever it is to sign your draft picks, and then you have three spots on offensive line. You have to fill out two receivers or two playmakers, I should say, two playmakers, backup running back, backup quarterback, defensive line. Like, you have all these positions that you need to fill, and with very minimal quality draft picks and now very minimal money, I don't know if the whole Huff thing is kind of in the cards right now or anymore. Um, that's why I was really surprised when they released Lakin when they did. I figured they would wait until at least after the combine or at least closer to free agency to kind of see who is available, get a better idea of what they might want to do. But he's gone. It is what it is. But now again with the New York Jets and their issues. So where do you go now? Do you sign a, I guess, mid to lower tier starting, I guess, starting caliber offensive lineman? Look, I still think the name of the game for the offensive line is we can't be focused on, okay, how do we get a top 5, top 10 offensive line anymore? Maybe even top 15 offensive lineman, because I feel like that's just kind of, it's not really possible for where we're at. Again, with our resources, I think the name of the game is, okay, how do we get a top 16 to 19 offensive line? How do we do that? I think they just need to find quality starters. They don't need to go and get the biggest name on the market. Unfortunately, when it comes to the tackle position, those are obviously tackles are kind of viewed as more important. So now you're going to have more teams because every team in the NFL needs offensive line help. So you're going to have more teams betting on fewer players now. So, I mean, that price is just going to skyrocket. How much can they really afford to kind of be flexible with? Which sucks because this is a year, I've said it before, that this is a year Joe Douglas he needs to get the deals done. He can't kind of malinger around the issue. Okay, well, we'll come back to this negotiation in a week or so. You have to get the deals done. But now with even more needs and limited resources, that's going to be tough because there are plenty of teams out there who need offensive line help who have much more money than the New York Jets. And, I still think you need to build this O-line through free agency. I think you need a veteran presence on that offensive line. I just where the Jets are in this 1 to maybe 2 year window, you can't bet on that number 10 pick. You can't bet on the rookie to come in and learn the intricacies of the NFL playing the offensive line professionally, because unlike skill positions, and I've talked about this before, unlike skill positions where, if you draft a receiver and okay, maybe he can't run every route in the route tree, but he does a few things well, he can let that natural athleticism, that natural talent shine and work with that, build on that, while he develops the rest of this game. Can you win a one-on-one matchup? Okay, cool. I don't need you to run 15 different routes. I don't need you to be the best blocker. I need you to do this one thing well, these couple of things well, still win and be productive. And then we'll work with you and develop the rest of your skill tree. Where offensive line, if you're really struggle with run blocking or pass blocking right off the bat, it's harder to say, okay, well, we'll just develop you throughout the season, because the offensive line is one cohesive unit. If you're not good at run blocking, like say Olu Fashanu, right? He's been known to be a little bit suspect in run blocking game. Okay, well, if you're not good at that and you need to develop and you still need to learn the rest of the NFL, if you still need to learn to communicate with guys that you've never communicated before, learn these more complex defensive schemes and stunts and everything else, pass-offs, everything else, that's stuff you've never really seen before, or at least to that level in at least when you were playing in college, it's much harder because that affects the rest of the line, and then ultimately that affects the rest of the offense if you're really struggling in an aspect. Um, where at least as an NFL veteran, even if, say, I know Cam Robinson's been a big name lately because he might be cut by Jacksonville. He's not the greatest run blocker. He's a good run blocker, but he does well in pass protection. Kind of same as Fashanu is known in college. You can at least process what's going on better and faster. You understand how to communicate. You might have seen the guy next to you. You might have worked with him at some point. There's more cohesiveness to having a veteran offensive line compared to a rookie. And look, it sucks because any other year I would say go draft a tackle. I think maybe really the only tackle I might make the exception for is Alt. I still think if Bowers is there at 10, you got to take Bowers because that's your number 2 receiver. That's your playmaker over the middle. That's your other big playmaker that you need. And he also can help on the offensive line with run blocking, pass blocking, stuff like that. I just think he's much more, he would be much more effective. I think he would contribute a lot more in multiple ways. So yeah, I would personally be out on an offensive lineman. Now look, if you just can't get it done free agency because you don't have the money, because you got to allocate so many resources in so many places, then okay, then what I'm doing is Fuaga's the big name at 10. I would trade back. And look at someone else like a Guyton or someone else who has very good production throughout his career in college football. And the thing that kind of scares me about Fuaga is, he's known as this big, mean, nasty mauler and all this other stuff. And I know everyone's high on him, but who's really heard of him before this season? There's a reason why some of these guys that people are so high on that you've never heard of them until, this past college football season. It's just really scary when you think about it when it comes to fixing the offensive line. And it makes it even harder when you have somebody like Joe Douglas who is, managing this team, who says, no, everything's fine. We're good. And I don't know why the Jets do this. They always kind of dumb it down. They always play dumb kind of in scenarios that everyone sees. The offensive line, it's a total disaster right now. It's a total mess right now. What are we gonna do about this? And then to say, no, we're good because Vera Tucker, who's coming off 2 major injuries, hasn't played a whole season yet. We don't know where he's playing, but he's versatile, so I think we're in a good spot. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't think I'm ever going to get it. I don't know why this team does this. We can clearly see there's a lot of issues with this team right now, so why kind of piss in our leg and say it's raining? I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of all the big news. Oh, also T. Higgins was obviously tagged. Now there's word that Michael Pittman is going back to Indy. But Mike Evans is he's going to test free agency. And the thing with that is, we need more playmakers. We need more of this. But he said he wants to play with a championship caliber team. He wants to play with a Hall of Fame quarterback. Could that be the Jets? I don't know. But again, it comes down to money. He's going to want a lot of money, especially if it's a 2-year window. I think Mike Evans makes the most sense timeline-wise. He might have 2 years left, whatever the case. He might be looking for a 2-year deal, and that kind of lines up with the whole Rodgers situation. But it's tough. Do you put a lot of eggs in that one basket and then kind of... So basically, where do you allocate your resources? Where do you take that big name wide receiver, give up half of your available salary cap, and now it's okay, now you're looking for lower tier players other places? Or do you kind of fill up put those resources into the offensive line and then backup quarterback, stuff like that, and get a mid-tier guy like a Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel? I know 2 big popular names. I know Tyson Rash loves those 2. And I think that's probably the safer bet to go because, look, this team, I believe on offensive side of the ball, I think as far as playmakers go, I think you just need quality guys. I think you just need available options for Rodgers or whoever to get the ball to. I don't think you need two huge name receivers, two big name receivers like Garrett Wilson and Mike Evans to be successful. I think if you just put out, if you're running like 13 personnel, 22 personnel, whatever the case may be, I think you just need quality guys to distribute the ball to, guys that have solid hands, and don't commit penalties, guys that or are organized and run the right routes, and just that's what you need. You don't need these big superstars everywhere. I mean, look, I think the biggest thing the Jets need to do this season is put players in roles. Have players have a specific role, and you see this throughout the offseason and everything else. Last season, at least, during training camp and everything, they move guys all around the line. I don't like that. Just have a set position, have a set role for guys. When you look, that's what successful teams do, what successful organizations do. When you look at the Patriots dynasty in the 2000s and the 2010s, who the hell was Wes Welker? Half these guys you never even heard of, but what they did really well is find specific roles for these guys. You know what? You don't know the whole route tree? That's okay. You're good at these. You can run 3 out of 6 routes very, very well. So these are the positions we're going to put you in so you can accomplish that and win, because we know you're going to win if you run deep crossing route, or whatever case may be, and not have to worry about guys doing 15 million different things and knowing every other position. Find what these guys do well and have them do that. You can develop the rest of the game and all that. Now, look, you do need guys on your team who can do multiple things, but I don't think that should be the blueprint to make up a team. Have everyone only get guys who can do a million things, because it doesn't work. So find positions, find specific roles for these guys, and I think they can be a lot more. They can accomplish a lot more and be more successful. And that's what I'm saying. If you just have, a guy like Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, Garrett Wilson, if you have those guys out there who are good at certain things, okay, have them do certain things and have volume, be able to distribute the ball, throughout the entire field, and then you add in tight ends and everything else. But yeah, that's really it. This week has just been really weird and really crazy. I'm curious to see what's going to come out. I mean, there's news coming out, Fast and Furious. It's Combine week, so there's just news getting out there all over the place. It's going to come out fast. The Caleb Williams situation is really weird. Didn't want to take his medical or share medical information with teams. I don't think he even really participated at all so far. We'll see what he does today. Off the top of my head, I don't know if he's running any drills or anything like that. And it's just really odd. It's a really odd situation. Guys are dropping and rising up boards and everything. And it's really interesting. I'm really curious to see what news is going to come out after the Combine starting on Monday, and just see kind of hopefully the Jets kind of lay out a game plan of what they want to accomplish, what they want to do. But that's all I got. I know it's definitely a longer video. I just had a lot to say. I might have rambled a little bit, it is what it is. But, like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment down below. What do you think was the craziest thing about this week? What do you think is going to happen after the Combine? What cuts do you think gonna come next? Do you think the Jets are going to be in talks with anybody for trades, or whatever the case may be? Anything we talked about, anything we didn't talk about, leave it down below. I'll get to it soon. And until then, thank you for joining me, and let's go Jets.